Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into the fierce, untamed world of Boudica, the warrior queen of the Iceni, whose rebellion against Rome set ancient Britain ablaze. Picture yourself standing on a windswept hill, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and iron, as a red-haired queen in a wolf fur cloak rallies thousands to defy an empire. You probably won't survive this story unscathed. It's a wild ride of courage, betrayal, and fire. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. It's always cool to see who's joining us from where. Now, turn down the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soft background music. And let's get started tonight. You're born into a world that smells of peat and rebellion, where the wind carries whispers of ancient gods, and the earth hums beneath your bare feet. This is the land of the Iceni, a tribe rooted in the eastern reaches of Britannia, where roundhouses squat under thatched roofs, and smoke curls lazily from central hearths like it's got somewhere better to be. Your childhood isn't soft, no silk swaddles or silver spoons here. You're wind-battered, mud-smeared, and sun-warmed, a girl of the wild moors. By 5, you're gripping a wooden spear, its weight more familiar than any doll. Embroidery? You tried it once, and the result looked like a drunken badger stitched it. Your mother laughed, then handed you a dagger instead. Daughters, she said, must be sharper than sons. And you, Boudica, with a name meaning victory, feel that truth in your bones. The Iceni live close to the land, their lives woven with the seasons. You learn to ride a shaggy pony before you can properly walk, its one good eye glaring like it's judging your balance. You gallop across fields, dodging nettles and the occasional grumpy goat that seems to have a personal vendetta. The elders teach you stories by firelight, not from scrolls, but from memory. Tales of antlered gods, rivers that swallow cowards, and queens who bend iron with their will. You eat honeyed oats, eyes wide, dreaming not just of hearing these stories, but becoming one. Your torque, a bronze coil heavy around your neck, passed down from the women before you, feels like a promise. Victory. It's not just a name, it's a prophecy. But even in this rugged idyll, shadows creep. Whispers drift from the south, strange men in red cloaks, building roads the earth didn't ask for, cutting sacred oaks for their forts. The Romans. They're far off, for now, a distant hum like a storm you can't yet see. You don't think of them much. You're too busy wrestling with your cousins or dodging the druids' endless chants about destiny. One old mystic, his beard more twig than hair, swears you're chosen by the gods. For what? He doesn't say, and you roll your eyes behind his back politely, of course. You're 10 when you learn 2 truths. The Romans are always scheming, and a blade swings better than words. Your tutors aren't scholars, they're survivors, scarred warriors who teach you to block a blow before you learn to braid your hair. Meals come with a side of dagger drills, and bruises bloom like badges. Life is raw, unpolished, glorious. You race your pony across the fens, laughing as mud splatters your face, the torque bouncing against your chest. The land speaks to you, rivers murmur, oaks stand sentinel, and the fog rolls in like a guest who never leaves. You're not just Iceni, you're part of the earth itself, fierce and free. But those Roman whispers grow louder, and the air shifts, carrying a faint tang of iron and ambition. You don't know it yet, but the gods are watching, and your story, the one you were born to live, is about to begin. Historical event. The Iceni, a Celtic tribe in eastern Britain, thrived in the early 1st century CE, maintaining their independence before Roman influence grew after the conquest of 43 CE. Odd detail: young Iceni girls were often trained in combat alongside boys, as tribal survival demanded versatility, not gender roles. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's early life included formal, druidic training, given her later leadership and symbolic power. Jokes. Why did the Iceni pony glare at Boudica? It knew she'd ride it into legend. What's worse than Roman taxes? Trying to untangle a druid's beard? Why don't Iceni kids play hide and seek? The goats always butt in. You stand on the edge of your village, the wind tugging at your cloak like an impatient child. The moors stretch out, endless and green, but there's a new edge to the air, a sharpness that isn't just the chill. Whispers of Rome slink through the Iceni like smoke through a roundhouse, unseen but impossible to ignore. You're older now, maybe 16. Your red hair, a wild cascade that catches the sun like fire. The torque around your neck feels heavier, not with weight, but with meaning. You've heard the stories. Men in red cloaks and steel sandals, landing in the south, their roads slicing through sacred groves like a blade through flesh. They build forts, demand taxes, and call your land a frontier. To you, it's just home. These Romans aren't just rumors anymore. Traders bring tales of their strange ways, square houses, gods trapped in stone, and a hunger for gold that makes wolves look tame. Your people trade with them sometimes, swapping furs for their shiny coins or odd glass beads that glitter like frozen dew. But every deal comes with a cost. The elders mutter about client kings, tribes forced to bow and smile while Rome tightens the leash. You see it in their eyes, anger, yes, but also fear. The Iceni are proud, but pride doesn't stop swords. You overhear a druid, his voice low as he speaks of omens. A raven circling backward, a river running red. You roll your eyes, druids, love their drama, but a shiver crawls down your spine. You're not a queen yet, just a girl with a spear and a name that hums with destiny. You train harder now, your wooden sword swapped for iron, its edge glinting like a promise. Your favorite teacher, a grizzled warrior named Carwin, smells like hay and ale and laughs when you nick his shin. Good, he grunts, but Romans don't bleed easy. He teaches you to move like water fast, fluid, unstoppable. You ride your one-eyed pony across the fens, dodging reeds and imagining enemies in the mist. You're not fighting Romans yet. You're fighting boredom, youth, the weight of a future you can't quite see. But the Romans creep closer. Their scouts appear on the horizon, their cloaks a slash of red against the green. They don't attack, not yet, but they watch, scribbling on wax tablets, measuring your land like it's already theirs. One day, a merchant arrives with a Roman trinket, a bronze pin shaped like an eagle. You hold it, its edges sharp, and wonder if it's a gift or a threat. The village buzzes with talk. Some say trade with Rome brings wealth. Others say it's a trap. Your mother, her face lined like the oak she prays to, warns you to trust the land, not the men who carve it. You nod, but your thoughts are on the eagle, its wings spread like it owns the sky. Historical event. The Roman conquest of Britain began in 43 CE under Emperor Claudius, with tribes like the Iceni initially resisting but facing increasing pressure to submit. Odd detail. Roman scouts often carried wax tablets for notes, which the Iceni found bizarre. as oral tradition was their way of recording history. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether the Iceni's early interactions with Rome were purely economic or already tinged with resistance. Jokes. Why don't Romans get lost? Their roads are straighter than a druid's logic. What's an Iceni's favorite game? Dodge the Roman tax collector. Why did the raven circle backward? It was drunk on fermented berries. You're no longer just a girl with a spear. You're a woman with a crown. Though it's not gold, it's the weight of your people's eyes. You marry Prasutagus, king of the Iceni, a man whose smile is as cautious as his handshake with Rome. You're maybe 18, your red hair braided with iron clasps, your torque gleaming against a wool cloak dyed the color of dusk. The wedding feast is loud, all mead and roasted boar, with warriors shouting toasts that shake the roundhouse beams. Prasutagus is older, clever, his beard flecked with gray, his voice steady, even when Rome's shadow looms. He's not a warrior king. He's a diplomat, navigating the tightrope between independence and Roman favor. You respect him for it, even if your blood runs hotter. As queen, your world shifts. Your roundhouse is larger now, its walls hung with furs, and the occasional Roman trinket pottery that cracks too easily, a bronze mirror you eye with suspicion. You wear fine wool, imported beads, but your hands still know the feel of a spear's haft. You host feasts, pour wine, endure Roman envoys who stink of olive oil and arrogance. One gifts you a polished mirror. You consider gifting him your fist, but smile instead. Diplomacy, you learn, is war by other means. The Iceni remain a client kingdom, friends of Rome, which means taxes, tributes, and forced smiles. Prasutagus plays the game well, trading grain for peace, nodding at Latin scrolls he barely trusts. You watch, learning the rhythm of power, the art of biting your tongue. You give birth to 2 daughters, sharp-eyed girls with your fire and their father's cunning. They ride ponies before they can talk properly, their laughter like sparks in the wind. You teach them not to charm but to survive, to wield words and blades with equal precision. The Romans notice them too, their gazes lingering too long, and you feel a prickle of unease. Prasutagus grows Keter, his health fading like a fire left untended. He writes a will, clever as ever, naming Rome co-heir with you and your daughters. He thinks it's a bridge, a way to secure your future. You're not so sure Rome doesn't share thrones, especially not with women. The land feels restless. Druids chant of omens, a wolf howling at noon, a spring that tastes of iron. You don't believe every riddle, but you feel the shift. Roman officials visit more often, their scrolls thicker, their demands sharper. They mispronounce your name Boudica, they say, not Boudicia, and you correct them with a smile that's all teeth. You're still queen, still Iceni, but the torque around your neck feels tighter, like the land itself is bracing for something. You stand by the river, watching the fog roll in, and whisper to your daughters, "We bow to no one." They nod, small hands gripping wooden spears, and you know they're ready for whatever comes next. Historical event. In 47 CE, an earlier Iceni revolt was crushed, leading Prasutagus to negotiate client, king, status with Rome to preserve partial autonomy. Odd detail. Roman envoys often brought gifts like mirrors to tribal leaders, seen as diplomatic tools, but sometimes perceived as insults by the Iceni. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Prasutagus' will was a genuine attempt at compromise or a desperate bid to protect his family from Roman annexation. Jokes. Why did the Roman envoy bring a mirror? He thought Boudica needed a better view of his ego. What's a client king's favorite hobby? Dodging Roman paperwork. Why don't Iceni queens dance? They're too busy sharpening the beat. The air tastes of ash and endings. Your husband, Prasutagus, is gone, his body laid beneath the earth, with his torque and a quiet prayer. You stand silent, your daughters clutching your hands, their small faces etched with grief and something harder understanding. The Iceni mourn, but Rome doesn't wait. Barely a week passes before they arrive, not with condolences, but with chains. Roman administrators, cloaked in smugness and impractical sandals, march into your settlement like they own the dirt itself. They carry scrolls, not swords, but the threat is sharper than any blade. Prasutagus' will, his careful bridge, naming you and your daughters co-heirs with Rome, is tossed aside like a child's drawing. They claim everything: land, livestock, your throne. They call it debt repayment, as if your husband borrowed the sky itself. You try diplomacy, your voice steady as you quote their own laws, your Latin sharp enough to cut. They laugh, their eyes cold, and quote, steal back at you. Then it escalates. Soldiers storm your roundhouse, their boots trampling the hearth where your daughters played. They strip you of your torque, your status, and drag you into the open. The whip cracks across your back, each lash a message. You are nothing. Your people watch, silent, as the queen of the Iceni is flogged in the dirt. Worse, your daughters, too young, too fierce, endure horrors no mother can unsee. Rome calls it discipline. You call it war. You hold them afterward, their trembling bodies pressed against yours, and something ancient stirs within you. Fury, yes, but fury with purpose. The village elders urge patience, whispering of Rome's legions, of survival through silence. You nod, but your heart is a forge, hammering rage into resolve. You see it in your people's eyes, not defeat, but a shared wound. They kneel beside you in the dirt, not in submission, but in solidarity. This wasn't just an attack on you. It was Rome's message to all Britons. Bow or break. You rise, not for your crown, but for the land, for the ancestors, for the gods of oak and iron, for your daughters, who will never be spoils. You whisper an oath, not to the wind, but to the earth itself. Rome will burn for this. The Romans leave, thinking you're broken, their scrolls heavier with Iceni debt. They don't see the storm gathering. You braid your daughter's hair, weaving iron clasps into each strand. You sharpen your spear, its point catching the firelight. The druids chant at night, their voices low, and you feel the gods listening. Rome made a mistake, not by whipping you, but by letting you live. You don't scream not yet, you plot. And somewhere, far off, an empire has no idea it's just woken a dragon. Historical event. Around 60 CE, after Prasutagus' death, Rome annexed Iceni lands, ignoring his will, and publicly humiliated Boudica and her daughters to assert dominance. Odd detail. Roman soldiers sometimes carried small wax tablets for orders, which the Iceni saw as flimsy compared to their oral traditions, mocking them as talking sticks. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's punishment was a calculated Roman tactic to crush Iceni morale or a reckless act that sparked rebellion. Jokes. Why did Rome ignore the will? They thought co-heir was Latin for take everything. What's a Roman scroll good for? Kindling for Boudica's fire. Why don't Iceni queens cry? They're too busy plotting revenge. You stand in the heart of your village, the scars on your back still raw, but they don't sting as much as the memory of your daughter's faces, silent, unyielding, their eyes mirrors of your own fury. The air hums with something new, not just the wind across the fens, but a pulse, a gathering storm. You're no longer just a queen. You're a wound made weapon. The Iceni watch you, their whispers turning to murmurs, then shouts. Rome thought they broke you, but they only cracked the earth. And now, something fierce is rising. You don't speak of peace anymore. You speak of fire. You move quietly at first, visiting roundhouses under cover of dusk, your wolf fur cloak blending with the shadows. The elders hesitate, their voices heavy with fear of Roman legions. But the women hear you first. Mothers, sisters, daughters. They know the weight of your daughter's pain, and they nod when you talk of vengeance. You don't preach, you remind. You point to the fields stripped for Roman taxes, the sacred groves felled for their roads, the children taught to fear red cloaks. Your words are simple, sharp, like a blade through fog. They took our land, our pride, our blood. Will we give them our souls? The answer is no, and it spreads like embers on dry grass. Warriors join next, their scars older than yours, their spears eager for purpose. You train in secret, in clearings where the moon is the only witness. Old blades are sharpened, new ones forged in hearths that glow like defiance. The druids, ever cryptic, chant of omens, a hawk tearing a snake, a star falling east. You don't care for their riddles, but their voices carry weight, and the tribes listen. You ride to neighboring clans, the Trinovantes first, old enemies of Rome, their grudges as fresh as yours. They pledge warriors, then food, then horses. The Catuvelauni follow, then the Dorotrages, each tribe a thread in a tapestry of rage. You don't demand loyalty, you offer purpose. Your army grows, not in neat rows like Rome's, but in a wild, living mass. Farmers with sickles, hunters with slings, women with daggers tucked into their belts. You braid your hair tight, paint your face with woad, the blue staining your skin like a vow. Your daughters ride beside you, their small hands steady on reins, their eyes fierce. You look into the river and see not a queen, but a reckoning. Rome wanted you humbled. Instead, you've become their nightmare. The campfires burn brighter now, and the air smells of iron and resolve. Somewhere, a Roman scout scribbles a note, but it's too late. The storm is coming, and you are its heart. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica began uniting the Iceni and neighboring tribes, including the Trinovantes, to form a coalition against Roman oppression, sparked by the annexation and her public humiliation. Odd detail. Woad, the blue plant-based dye used by the Iceni for war paint, was so pungent it could make eyes water, doubling as a psychological weapon. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's leadership was driven solely by personal vengeance or a broader vision of British unity against Rome. Jokes. Why did the tribes join Boudica? They heard Rome's taxes were worse than her war paint smell. What's a druid's favorite prophecy? One that predicts free mead. Why don't Romans play chess? Boudica keeps burning the board. You ride at the head of a gathering storm, your chariot's wheels cutting ruts through the damp earth, your red hair streaming like a battle flag. The air is thick with the scent of sweat, iron, and the sharp tang of woad paint drying on your skin. Behind you, thousands follow Iceni, Trinovantes, Catuvelloni, a tide of Britons bound not by blood, but by rage. Farmers wield pitchforks, warriors brandish spears, and even the old and young carry something: stones, slings, or just the fire in their eyes. You're no longer just Boudica, the queen. You're a spark that's caught, a flame fed by every Roman insult, every stolen field, every lash on your back. Your daughters ride beside you, their faces painted, their small hands gripping reins like they were born for this. They were. You move from village to village, your voice carrying over crackling campfires. You don't give speeches, you tell truths. Rome took our land, you say, our gods, our children's future. Will we let them take our fight? The answer is a roar, a chant that shakes the oaks. You speak of the whip, the taxes, the groves burned for Roman forts. You name the pain yours, theirs, your daughters, and it binds them to you. The Trinovantes, still stinging from Rome's seizure of their old capital, bring thousands. The Catuvelloni, once rivals, send warriors with axes as heavy as their grudges. Even smaller tribes, the Durotrigas and Corioltauvi, join, their leaders swearing oaths on iron and bone. You don't ask for loyalty, you offer revenge, and that's enough. The camps swell, a chaotic sprawl of tents, carts, and stolen Roman loot. You organize as best you can, appointing scouts, messengers, and clan leaders to keep the peace. It's not easy. Tribes feud, warriors bicker over mead, and some are more interested in plunder than purpose. You walk among them, your wolf fur cloak trailing, your presence a reminder. This is for survival, not sport. The druids weave through the camps, chanting of gods and omens, a spear that wouldn't break, a fire that burned blue. You let them talk. Their riddles keep the people fierce. At night, you sharpen your spear, its point catching the firelight like a star. You look at your daughters, sleeping under firs, and think of the Roman hands that touched them. Your fury doesn't fade, it sharpens. The Romans hear of you now. Their spies whisper of a woman's rebellion, their laughter thin. They don't yet know the scale: tens of thousands, maybe 100,000, a force that moves like a flood. You don't count heads. You feel the weight, the heat, the hunger behind you. The gods are listening. The land is watching. And Rome is about to learn what happens when you whip a queen and call it justice. You mount your chariot, the iron blades on its wheels glinting, and point north. Camulodunum waits, and with it, the first flames of your war. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica unified disparate British tribes, including the Trinovantes and Catuvelloni, forming an army estimated by Roman sources at up to 100,000, though likely exaggerated. Odd detail. Some Britons painted their teeth with woad alongside their faces, creating a terrifying grin that unnerved Roman soldiers. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's coalition was a disciplined army or a loosely organized mass, driven by shared outrage. Jokes. Why did the tribes unite? Boudica's glare was scarier than Rome's legions. What's a druid's worst nightmare? A Roman with a better riddle. Why don't Britons play cards with Romans? They'd burn the deck first. You ride toward Camulodunum, your chariot rattling over uneven earth, the iron blades on its wheels slicing through mud like a warning. The air is sharp with the scent of pine and anticipation. Your army a living tide behind you, thousands of Britons, their war cries blending with the creak of carts and the snorts of horses. Your daughters ride close, their faces streaked with woad, their eyes bright with something between faith and fury. Camulodunum isn't just a target, it's a symbol. Rome's prized colony built on stolen Trinovante's land. Its marble temple to Emperor Claudius gleaming like an insult. They call it sacred, you call it a scar. You're here to burn it clean. The dust cloud of your approach announces you long before you arrive. The Romans scramble retired soldiers, fat with pensions, and smug officials who thought Britannia was tamed. No legions are stationed here, just old men in rusty armor and colonists clutching scrolls instead of swords. You give no warning, no terms. Your army crashes through the gates like a wave, spears flashing, torches flaring. Villas collapse under flames, their mosaics cracking like promises. The streets, meant for Roman parades, choke with smoke and screams. You ride through the chaos, your voice a thunderclap, urging your warriors on. The Temple of Claudius, that stone mockery, is the last to fall. Its defenders barricade inside, praying to a dead emperor's statue. It takes 2 days to burn it down, not for lack of fire, but because you want it thorough, every column reduced to ash. Your people loot what they can, bronze lamps, wine jars, even a Roman eagle standard, its wings bent like a broken bird. Your daughters collect scorched trinkets from the temple, small trophies for their pain. You don't smile. This isn't joy, it's necessity. The Romans called you broken. Now their city is rubble. Word spreads, and with it, fear. Refugees flee south, carrying tales of a red-haired queen and an army that moves like fire. You stand among the ruins, the wind tugging at your cloak, and feel the land exhale. Camulodunum is gone, and Rome knows your name now. Londinium waits, and you're already moving. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's forces sacked Camulodunum, modern Colchester, destroying the Roman colony and its temple to Claudius, a key symbol of Roman dominance. Odd detail. Some Britons carved insults into the walls of burning Roman villas, leaving graffiti as a final jab before the flames took over. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's attack on Camulodunum was a planned, strategic strike or a spontaneous outburst of tribal rage. Jokes. Why did Boudica burn the temple? She didn't like Claudius's decorating taste. What's a Roman colonist's worst fear? A Briton with a torch and a grudge. Why don't Iceni write victory speeches? They let the flames do the talking. You ride south, the ash of Camulodunum still clinging to your boots, the scent of charred wood and defiance thick in the air. Your chariot cuts through the morning mist, its iron wheels grinding like a low growl. Behind you, your army swells tens of thousands now, a roaring, ragged mass of Britons, their faces painted blue, their voices a chorus of rage and hope. Your daughters, fierce as young wolves, ride beside you, their braids glinting with iron clasps, their eyes fixed on the horizon. Londinium lies ahead, Rome's glittering trading hub, a city of merchants and ambition, its docks heavy with wine, olive oil, and the smugness of empire. You're not here to trade, you're here to burn. The road to Londinium is chaos before you even arrive. Refugees stream out, carts piled with silks and silver, their panic a better banner than any you could carry. Governor Suetonius Paulinus, Rome's hard man in Britannia, hears of your approach. He's been crushing a rebellion in Wales, but he races back, takes one look at your dust cloud, and does what Romans do best. He calculates. Your army may be 100,000 strong, though who's counting, is too vast, too wild. He abandons Londinium, pulling his troops west to save the province, not the city. You smirk when you hear it. A Roman running? That's new. You reach the city at dusk, the Thames reflecting torchlight like liquid fire. Londinium is wide open, its streets built for commerce, not defense. You offer one chance: leave now, or face the gods' judgment. Some flee, others, too proud or too slow, stay. Your warriors pour in, a tide of iron and woad. Market stalls collapse into cinders. Bathhouses hiss as flames lick their stones, and Roman statues topple like felled trees. You find a half-burned ledger, names and debts, in neat Latin script. You toss it into the fire, the word tribute curling into ash. The Romans will call this a massacre, claim tens of thousands died. Maybe. You don't count bodies, you count the silence that follows. Londinium, Rome's jewel, is a smoking ruin by dawn. You stand on the riverbank, your cloak heavy with soot, your daughters clutching bits of scorched bronze. The air smells of victory and loss, because even vengeance has a weight. Your army cheers, louder now, fed by flames and loot. Verulamium is next, and Rome's learning fast. You're not a queen anymore, you're a storm. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's forces razed Londinium, modern London, a key Roman commercial center, after Suetonius Paulinus evacuated it to preserve his army. Odd detail. Some fleeing Romans left behind pet dogs, which the Britons adopted, turning Roman lapdogs into war camp mascots. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's destruction of Londinium was a symbolic act against Roman wealth or a strategic move to disrupt their supply lines. Jokes. Why did Boudica torch Londinium? She heard their wine tasted better as smoke. What's a Roman merchant's worst day? When Boudica's chariot parks in your marketplace. Why don't Britons shop in Londinium? They prefer their deals, fire sale, fresh. You ride through a world of ash and echoes, the ruins of Londinium smoldering behind you, their smoke curling into the sky like a warning sent to the gods. Your chariot's wheels churn the earth, the iron blades glinting with the promise of more to come. Your army trails you, a vast, unruly beast, tens of thousands, maybe more, their faces streaked with woad and soot, their voices a low rumble of triumph and hunger. Your daughters ride close, their small hands steady on reins, their eyes sharp as the daggers tucked into their belts. Verulamium lies ahead, Rome's polished town of mosaics and ambition, its streets paved with stone that never asked the land's permission. You're not here to admire their architecture, you're here to erase it. Verulamium hears you coming. Merchants, warned by Londinium's refugees, pack carts with silver idols and grain ledgers, fleeing west like ants from a crushed hill. The wealthy clutch their togas, their sandals slipping on dew-slick grass, but you let them go. Vengeance, you've learned, keeps its own schedule. When you arrive, the town is half empty, its gates unguarded, its temples silent. The few who remain stubborn colonists, old soldiers, or those too frail to run, stare as your army floods the streets. Your warriors move like a river, breaking its banks, smashing villas, torching market stalls, and toppling fountains that spit Roman arrogance. The temple, another shrine to their gods, burns slow and deliberate, its marble cracking like brittle bones. You walk through the chaos, your wolf fur cloak dragging through ash, a scorched scroll at your feet listing tributes owed to Rome. You kick it into the flames, the word debt vanishing in a puff of black smoke. Verulamium was meant to be Rome's future, a Britain tamed, Latinized, obedient. Now it's rubble, its mosaics shattered, its bathhouses steaming ruins. Your daughters gather fragments of broken statues, their small hands smudged with soot, and you nod. Let them carry the weight of this. By the third day, Verulamium is gone, another scar on Rome's pride. Your army swells, fed by victory, and the desperate who join for loot or purpose. You don't ask why, you only point forward. But the air feels heavier now. Rome isn't laughing anymore. Scouts whisper of Suetonius, the governor, regrouping his legions, his mind as sharp as his sword. 3 cities lie in ashes, Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium, but Rome's teeth are bared. You tighten your grip on your spear, the woad on your face cracking as you squint into the horizon. The gods still sing in the wind, but the ground beneath you feels like it's waiting for blood. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's forces destroyed Verulamium, modern St. Albans, a Romanized town known for its wealth and infrastructure, further weakening Rome's grip on Britannia. Odd detail. Some Britons used Roman roof tiles as slingshot ammunition, hurling symbols of Roman order back at their makers. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica targeted Verulamium for its symbolic Romanization or simply as the next accessible target in her campaign. Jokes. Why did Boudica burn Verulamium? Their fountains were too splashy for her taste. What's a Roman colonist's favorite hobby? Packing faster than Boudica's army. Why don't Britons trust Roman roads? They lead straight to trouble. You move through a haze of ash and momentum, your chariot wheels creaking under the weight of stolen Roman pottery and the dreams of 1,000 Britons. The air smells of charred wood and rebellion, sharp with the tang of woad and the sweat of your swelling army. Behind you, Verulamium's ruins smolder, another Roman dream reduced to cinders. Your daughters ride close, their faces streaked with blue clutching reins and the scorched bronze they've claimed as trophies. The army tens of thousands, maybe 100,000. No one's counting sprawls like a living beast, a chaotic blend of warriors, farmers, and druids chanting omens about fire and hawks. You're their heart, Boudica, the queen who turned whip scars into war cries, but you feel the strain. This isn't an army, it's a flood, and floods don't always hold their shape. The camps are a riot of noise and loot. Warriors drape themselves in Roman tunics, laughing as they swing wine jugs like clubs. A boy, barely older than your daughters, struts with a stolen centurion's helmet, too big for his head, and you almost smile, almost. Some fight for freedom, others chase plunder. You walk among them, your wolf fur cloak brushing the mud, your voice cutting through the chaos to appoint commanders, scouts, anyone to keep this beast from eating itself. The druids weave through, muttering of gods and signs, a spear that burned but didn't break, a river that sang at midnight. You nod, but your eyes are on the horizon. Rome's not running anymore. You hear whispers of dissent. Some warriors ask when you'll stop. Others, drunk on victory, want to march on Roman forts. the elders worn of discipline, of supply lines stretched thin. You see it too, the carts grown with loot, not food, the horses tire, the unity you forged in rage, frays at the edges. Justice draws followers, but treasure tempts stragglers. You braid your daughter's hair at night, iron clasps glinting, and wonder how long this fire can burn. You don't doubt the cause. Rome's crimes are carved into your back, but you feel the weight. Vengeance is a hungry god. Still, you ride forward, your spear sharp, your face painted like a storm. The gods still hum in the wind, and your people still chant your name. But scouts bring news. Suetonius, the Roman governor, is no longer retreating. He's chosen a battleground, a narrow valley where his legions wait, disciplined and deadly. You tighten your grip, the woad cracking on your cheeks. 3 cities burn behind you, but Rome's ready now, and the next fight won't be against walls, it'll be against men who don't break. Historical event. By 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's rebellion had grown massive but unwieldy, with Roman sources noting its lack of formal structure compared to their legions, setting the stage for a decisive clash. Odd detail. Some Britons carried Roman looted jewelry into battle, wearing it as both trophy and taunt, risking extra weight for morale. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's army grew too large, too fast, undermining its cohesion, or if its size was its greatest strength until the final battle. Jokes. Why did the Britons grab Roman loot? They wanted to accessorize their rebellion. What's a druid's least favorite omen? One that says, check your supplies. Why don't Boudica's warriors march in step? They're too busy tripping over treasure. You ride toward the reckoning, your chariot's wheels grinding through mud, and resolve, the air heavy with the scent of damp leather and the iron tang of sharpened blades. Your army stretches behind you, a vast, bellowing mass, tens of thousands, maybe more, their war cries rolling like thunder across the fens. Your daughters, painted in woad, ride beside you, their small faces fierce, their hands steady on reins. The camps are a chaos of firelight and stolen Roman gold. Warriors draped in looted tunics, druids chanting of hawks and unbroken spears. You've burned 3 cities, Camulodunum, Londinium, Verulamium, leaving Rome's pride in ashes, but the wind has shifted, carrying whispers of a new threat. Suetonius Paulinus, Rome's iron-willed governor, isn't running anymore. He's waiting. Scouts return, their faces grim. Suetonius has chosen his ground, a narrow valley flanked by dense woods and steep hills, a choke point where your chariots can't sweep wide, where your numbers mean nothing. He's got maybe 10,000 men legionaries, hardened veterans, their shields polished to a dull gleam, their formations tight as a clenched fist. You feel the weight of it, not fear, but a cold clarity. You've fought cities, soft targets that crumbled under your fury. Now you face soldiers, men trained to hold lines, to kill without flinching. The druids say the gods are still with you, pointing to a raven circling overhead. You squint at it, wondering if it's circling you or Rome. You gather your leaders by a fire, the flames casting shadows on their woad-streaked faces. Some urge caution, saying Suetonius's trap is too tight, his men too disciplined. Others, drunk on victories, demand you charge now, crush Rome's last stand in Britannia. You listen, your spear across your lap, its point catching the firelight. You think of your daughters, of the whip scars on your back, of the Iceni's stolen fields. We fight, you say, your voice low but final. The tribes roar, their unity fraying but still holding, like a rope stretched taut. You paint your face again, the woad's bitter scent stinging your nose, and mount your chariot. The valley waits, and so does Rome. You know the odds. Your army is vast, but it's a beast of passion, not precision. Rome's legions are smaller, but they're a machine, each man a cog in a merciless wheel. You tighten your cloak, the wolf fur rough against your skin, and glance at your daughters. They nod, small warriors born of your fire. The gods may sing, but battles aren't won by omens. You point your spear forward, and the storm begins to move. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Suetonius Paulinus, after evacuating Londinium, strategically chose a narrow valley, possibly near Menseter, to face Boudica's larger but less disciplined force, leveraging Roman military precision. Odd detail. Roman legionaries often polished their shields with oil to intimidate enemies with their gleam, a tactic that unnerved Britons unused to such uniformity. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Suetonius's choice of battleground was a calculated stroke of genius or a desperate gamble to avoid further losses. Jokes. Why did Suetonius pick a valley? He wanted Boudica's army to trip over their own loot. What's a druid's worst battle plan? Trusting a raven's GPS. Why don't Romans play hide and seek? Their shields shine too bright. You stand at the edge of the valley, your chariot wheels sunk in the soft earth, the air thick with the scent of sweat, woad, and the faint metallic tang of fear. Your army sprawls behind you, a vast sea of Britons, tens of thousands, maybe 100,000, their war horns blaring, their banners snapping in the wind. Your daughters ride beside you, their faces painted blue, their eyes burning with the same fire that drives you. The valley is a trap, narrow and hemmed by woods and hills, no room for your chariots to flank, no space for your numbers to overwhelm. Suetonius waits at the far end, his legions a wall of iron shields, their silence louder than your warriors' screams. You've burned cities, toppled temples, but this is different. This is Rome's teeth, bared and ready. You raise your spear, its point catching the pale sunlight, and call out a prayer, a curse, a promise to the gods of oak and iron. Your voice carries, and the tribes answer, their roar shaking the ground. You charge, your chariot leading the way, wheels spinning, iron blades slicing the air. The Britons surge behind you, a tide of spears, sickles, and raw fury, crashing toward the Roman line. You expect it to break, to buckle under your numbers, but it holds steady, unyielding, a cliff against a wave. The sound is deafening, shields clashing, spears snapping, voices breaking into screams. Your warriors slam into the legions again and again, but the Romans don't move. They stab, precise and merciless, their short swords flashing in tight formation. The valley betrays you. Your vast army clogs the field. No room to maneuver, no space to retreat. Chariots jam in the press. Warriors trip over their own dead, and still the Romans advance, their wedge formations cutting through your lines like a blade through cloth. You scream until your throat burns, urging your people forward, but the tide turns. What began as a charge becomes a crush, a rout, a slaughter. You see your daughters, their small figures caught in the chaos, and fight to reach them, your spear heavy with blood. The gods are silent now, the raven gone, the sky filled not with fire but with crows. You don't run, Not yet. You stand your ground, slashing, shouting, until the earth is red and the air chokes with dust. Rome's machine grinds on, and your army, your fire, your people begins to break. You didn't expect this. Not here. Not like this. But you don't bow. You grip your daughter's hands, their faces fierce despite the blood, and you know the fight isn't over. Not yet. Historical event. In 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's rebellion culminated in the Battle of Watling Street, where Suetonius's disciplined Roman legions defeated her much larger force in a narrow valley, exploiting terrain to neutralize her numerical advantage. Odd detail. Some Britons brought their families to watch the battle, expecting victory, only to block their own retreat as the Romans counterattacked. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's defeat was due to Roman tactical superiority or her army's lack of discipline and overconfidence. Jokes. Why did Boudica charge the valley? She thought Rome's shields were just fancy mirrors. What's a Roman legion's favorite game? Pin the spear on the Briton. Why don't druids predict defeats? Their ravens never send bad news. You stumble through the chaos, your chariot abandoned, its wheels jammed in the blood-soaked mud. The valley is a graveyard now, the air thick with the stench of iron and despair, the ground littered with broken spears and bodies. Your people, your fire, your Britons, your army, once a roaring tide, is shattered, their cries fading into moans as Roman swords carve through the press. Your daughters cling to you, their woad-streaked faces pale but fierce, their small hands gripping daggers. You're no longer a queen leading a charge. You're a mother fighting to keep them alive. The Romans advance, their shields a gleaming wall, their steps measured, relentless, like the heartbeat of a beast that never tires. You scream, your voice raw, slashing with a blade dulled by blood, but the tide has turned, and it's drowning you. The valley's narrow throat chokes your retreat. Warriors fall, trampled by their own kin, their looted Roman gold glinting uselessly in the dirt. You see the boy with the too big centurion's helmet, his body still, his slingshot snapped beside him. The druids, their chants silenced, lie broken, their robes stained red. You fight to the front, desperate to rally, to find your daughters in the crush. You spot them, their braids swinging as they swing their blades, small but unyielding. You press your forehead to theirs, a moment of fire amidst the ruin, and whisper, "Not yet." The gods are quiet, the wind carries only ash, and the ravens circle closer now, their wings a dark promise. You dismount, your spear heavy, your cloak torn. The Romans don't chase, they don't need to. Their victory is surgical, a lesson written in flesh. Your army, tens of thousands strong, melts into the woods, some fleeing, some falling, some simply gone. You pull your daughters back, slipping through the trees, your breath ragged but defiant. The battle is lost, but you're not broken. You think of Camulodunum's ashes, Londinium's ruins, Verulamium's shattered stones. Rome may win today, but they'll never forget you. You grip your blade, its edge chipped but sharp enough for one last stand, and vow to choose your own ending. Historical event. The Battle of Watling Street in 60 or 61 CE saw Suetonius's Roman legions decisively defeat Boudica's forces, with Roman sources claiming up to 80,000 Britons killed, though likely exaggerated. Odd detail. Some fleeing Britons were slowed by carts of loot and families, creating a deadly bottleneck that Romans exploited with ruthless efficiency. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's forces could have won with better tactics, or if Rome's disciplined legions were always destined to prevail. Jokes. Why did Boudica's army lose? Too many warriors stopped to adjust their looted togas. What's a Roman's favorite battle snack? Britain jerky. Why don't ravens help in a rout? They're too busy booking flights. You slip through the trees, the forest swallowing you like a secret, your daughter's hands tight in yours. The air is heavy with the scent of pine and blood, the distant screams of the valley fading into an eerie quiet. Your cloak, torn and caked with ash, drags through the underbrush, and your spear, chipped but still deadly, feels like an extension of your will. The battle is over, your army broken, your fire scattered, but you're not done. You're Boudica, queen of the Iceni, and you don't kneel, not to Rome, not to defeat. Your daughters, their faces smudged with woad and dirt, move silently beside you, their eyes sharp, their small daggers glinting in the dappled light. They're alive, and that's enough to keep you moving. You find a hollow, a quiet cradle of twisted oaks, the earth soft beneath your boots. You sink to the ground, your daughters curling against you under a bear pelt, their breaths steady despite the weight of the day. The wind hums through the branches, carrying the faint caw of crows. But no Roman boots follow. Not yet. You think of the valley, the red earth, the shields that didn't break. You burned 3 cities, shook an empire, but Rome's machine ground you down. Not because they were stronger, but because they were precise. Their valley a trap you couldn't outrun. You don't regret the fight. Regret is for cowards, but you feel the cost, heavy as the torque you no longer wear. The Druids' omens are silent now, their ravens fled. You wonder if the gods abandoned you, or if they always meant for this to be your end. You look at your daughters, their faces fierce even in sleep, and know you'd burn it all again for them. Rome will write their story, call you a savage, a woman who dared too much. They'll say you poisoned yourself, or fell ill, or vanished into the mist. Let them. You choose your own ending, here in this hollow, with your daughter's warmth against you. You whisper to the earth, to the gods of oak and iron, we rose, and that's enough. Historical event. After the defeat at Watling Street in 60 or 61 CE, Boudica's fate is unclear. Roman sources like Tacitus suggest she took poison to avoid capture, while others claim illness or disappearance. Odd detail. Some Britons believed hiding in sacred groves protected them from Roman pursuit, as the trees were thought to harbor vengeful spirits. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica died by her own hand to preserve her defiance, or was simply lost to history's gaps after the battle. Jokes. Why didn't Boudica surrender? She wasn't done rearranging Rome's furniture. What's a Roman historian's worst job? Explaining why Boudica's still scarier than their legions. Why don't oaks tell secrets? They're too busy guarding queens. You rest in the hollow, the oaks standing sentinel, their branches swaying like a lullaby over the bruised earth. The air is soft now, carrying only the whisper of leaves and the distant call of a night bird, no longer heavy with ash or iron. Your daughters sleep beside you, their small forms curled under the bear pelt, their breath steady, their faces still fierce even in dreams. Your spear leans across your lap, its edge dulled but unbowed, much like you. The scars on your back ache, a reminder of Rome's whip, but they're nothing compared to the fire in your chest, the one that burned 3 cities and made an empire tremble. You're Boudica, queen of the Iceni, and though the valley broke your army, it didn't break your name. Rome will move on, their legions marching, their scrolls rewriting you as a cautionary tale. Tacitus will call you noble but doomed. Cassius Dio will hint at poison or sickness, anything to tidy your story into their neat Latin boxes. Your daughters vanish from their records, as if they never rode beside you, never held daggers with hands too small for war. But Rome's words don't matter. You carved your truth in fire, Camulodunum's ashes, Londinium's ruins, Verulamium's shattered stones. You gave the Iceni, the Trinovantes, all Britons, a voice that roared louder than Roman trumpets. Suetonius may claim victory, but he'll sleep with one eye open, knowing you nearly took Britannia from him. Centuries will pass, and your name will endure, not in Roman marble, but in the earth itself. The wind will carry it, the rivers will sing it, and every woman who refuses to bow will feel your shadow at her back. The Victorians, ever fond of drama, will cast you in bronze, chariot wheels spinning, daughters at your side, forever charging on London's banks. Tourists will snap photos, but you'll be more than a statue. You'll be the whisper in every rebellion, the spark in every fire that says, "Not yet." You look at your daughters, their faces soft in sleep, and smile. Rome won the battle, but you won the war. They'll never forget. The oaks creak above, the stars pierce the sky, and you feel the land breathing with you. You're not a queen now, not a warrior, just a woman who rose when the gods demanded it. The hollow cradles you, the earth holds you close, and as the night deepens, you let go. Your name, Boudica, victory will linger, stubborn as the roots beneath you, fierce as the daughters you leave behind. The story isn't over, it's only begun to echo. Historical event. Boudica's rebellion in 60 or 61 CE, though defeated, forced Rome to govern Britannia more cautiously, with increased garrisons and fewer grand temples, as recorded by Tacitus. Odd detail. Victorian Britain romanticized Boudica, erecting her statue in 1902 near Westminster, despite her defeat, turning her into a symbol of national pride. Academic debate. Historians still debate whether Boudica's rebellion inspired long-term British resistance or was a fleeting, if spectacular, outburst against Rome. Jokes. Why does Boudica's statue keep charging? She's still mad about Roman parking fees. What's a Roman scribe's worst nightmare? Spelling Boudica right. Why don't Britons forget her? She's the queen who turned taxes into torches. You lean back, the hollow fading into a soft blur, the oaks blending with the night. The stars above are bright, like the ones that watched you rise, fight, and burn. Boudica's story isn't just a tale of iron and fire. It's a reminder that defiance doesn't need a crown, only a heart that refuses to break. You've walked her path, felt the whip, the rage, the weight of 1,000 spears behind you. Now, as the wind quiets and the embers cool, let her name settle into you, Boudica. Victory, a whisper that outlasts empires. You're safe here, in this moment, where the past breathes softly, where courage lingers like a scent you can't forget. So close your eyes, let the world soften, and rest. The story's done, but its echo lives on, in you, in the earth, in every spark that dares to rise. Sleep now, under the same stars she saw, and dream of fire.